thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Julie Tenner.
And I'm Bridget Wood. And today's podcast is sponsored by Milk and Maple, who are a beautiful local atelier of whole food raw treats. They're just delicious. And so
Beautiful.
They're almost like a masterpiece.
Yes.
You know, an artwork on your plate.
You feel nourished in so many ways, don't you? Nourished on the physical
Yeah.
raw food amazingness, but nourished on just the beauty. And just the taking in of something you haven't prepared feels like a goddess act, doesn't it?
It really does. And Evelyn, who makes these, they're vegan, you know, all whole food, all natural soaked ingredients. And she uses lots of nuts and things. She's just beautiful. She's just got such a lovely energy. So we're so blessed to have her as a supporter of our retreats. So everyone who came to the last one kind of got more raw treats than they bargained for. You know, it was really lovely. So thank you to
Please
Evelyn, and
check her out.
Yeah, so it's milkandmaple.com, I believe.
Which is MYLK
Yes.
and Maple.
Milk and Maple. And it's just beautiful. Everything about it, the design, everything. Love it.
Yes.
Anyway,
Today's podcast.
Yeah.
We decided from the feedback that we received from our beautiful tribe was that there was a huge amount of interest on our Family Dynamics podcast. So, which is really, when we think about it, we kind of did it on a whim, but really what we were alluding to was this concept of we're never without, and what are our relationships around us most intimately offering us. And so we thought we would take that a little bit further and a little bit deeper, because I was just saying to Bridget, I can't believe I have such profound gratitude that I could almost cry when I think about the journey of this podcast for us over the last 9 months or whatever it's been, has allowed me to do so much work and processing on myself that I've come to such a deeper level with my relationship and my gratitude for my husband than I have ever had before, and yet he hasn't changed. So our relationship is intimately better. My connection to him and within myself, and therefore the vibe that's around our house, is infinitely better. But he hasn't changed. I've changed. I've changed the way that I perceive him. I've changed the way that I perceive and I suppose create my reality. And I can see the perfection in what he offers rather than seeing all of the ways he didn't measure up, which is previously where I would have been. And I've said to you before, right, you know, I started this, you know, mothering journey, and I wanted to be this or this natural journey, and I wanted him to be this spiritually awakened man and aligned with me and making conscious decisions with me, and my, I suppose on one hand, my spiritual intellectual equal, that we could have these profound conversations, you know, because that's what I found so inspiring by the people I had around me.
Yeah.
And in doing that, though, I was completely shutting down and dampening the light and the magnificence that he owned, because we're never without as well, right? So just because he didn't have these things in the form that I was choosing to only value and see, it's been a complete flip to see that in order for me to be and do this, he has to be my complete opposite.
Yeah.
Because we could not together be the same person on the same journey. It would never work.
And one of you wouldn't be needed, because you need the opposite to grow.
You need the opposite to grow. And in fact, I realise all those things I thought were missing are not. They are just in a different form. And I can see and witness the king within him and what he offers and provides me in a different form, just not the one I was choosing to look for. And so when we move to that space, it creates huge gratitude and connection, which of course changes the way that you interact, the relationship that you have, and the vibe that you have in your house. And I think also, when we talked about with Lael, was the best work you can ever do is the work on yourself and your relationship, because that forms what your children know about relationships and love, and not that they seek the same person, but they seek the same feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
The same play out of what they've witnessed as what a relationship is.
I mean, it's like that idea that girls often choose men like their fathers, because there's either conscious or subconscious valuing of those traits, or a sense that you want to learn from them. And I mean, I would add to that, like, I think so much in relationships, whether you're conscious of it or not, often want to change the person. You often want to make them more like where you're at. And
this is what I see mostly. I mean, we're all at the age now where there's lots of divorcing and separating and people really going on different paths. And it is really amazing that we always come back to this same, or I perceive the same roadblock of, well, they're not all of these things that I need. And I find that heartbreaking. Yeah, so let's pull that apart.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big one, because it's almost like you're asking them to be something that they're not. But they are everything that they need to be for who they are and where they're growing and what their value system dictates.
And which is, in fact, exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Because we choose, like in the Family Dynamics podcast, also our family units are completely whole. So we're choosing those people with those skill sets, gifts or challenges because they are exactly what we need to propel forwards. So when we're talking about, soul journey and purpose, as we did in last week's podcast on creating your reality, the challenge is just as important as the joy.
Yes.
You can't have a relationship that's constantly la, 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 la. And so I'm saying here, I have this beautiful, loving relationship with my husband, but it's not all joy, bliss and rainbows.
No.
There's challenge, but we approach the challenge in a very different way. And I'm grateful for the challenge because it's an opportunity to delve deeper, to look at what's going on, to look at what I have called in for a reason and how to move through that with my own governance and ownership as opposed to going, you're wrong.
Yeah, which is the wounded response, which is that I don't want to see what is right there in front of me.
And if we're creating our reality, if we're really willing to step into this, our relationship and everything that's playing out around us is to some extent what we have created.
Yes.
So why have we created it? Which is a really tough ownership, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about it, we are so conditioned socially, so conditioned in all the messages we get to blame. And for it to be someone else's responsibility or for someone else to have to change. And particularly as women, I think we can be a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but we can really give men a hard time, and really castrate them in some ways, and that is not a nice, healthy way to treat men.
And the thing is, when we do that, they do the same back to us in objectification.
That's right.
And then we get angry and
we
we fire back the emasculation. And then they get angry and they fire back the objection.
Yeah.
But if we come back to witnessing and really choosing to see the king within each man, he instantly changes and chooses to see the queen within each woman.
Yes.
Right? And this is the whole philosophy behind the Queen's Code, which I would really recommend reading if you're really ready to make this leap. Because it's extraordinary that you can really honestly see the genius in each man and choose to speak to that, which in turn chooses that they want to provide and awaken for you all of the things that they want for their queen to be amazing.
And another great book that's really worth exploring, some of our listeners may have read it, is The Love Languages. To really look at the way that, because often we say that we want something or we say that they're not measuring up, but they're simply giving us love in a way that we're not recognising. Because for some women might judge their husband for forgetting their anniversary or forgetting their birthday or not showering them with gifts. But that's not the way that they show their love. For them, that's not really in their awareness. The way that they show love is to be an amazing provider, or is to do things for you without you having to think about it. And I mean, how is that any better or worse than the other way?
No, it's not.
But you're simply just not seeing it. So it's a beautiful way to come into reverence for your partner again, I think, when you start to see the way that they do provide.
Yeah, so I would really say to you, if you're really looking at this, is to write down all of the things that you don't like about your husband or you wish that they were more of these particular things. And then take a moment to look at each one of those things individually and say, okay, so he's not in the form I'm looking for. Where is he those things? So where is he affectionate within his life or within our relationship or within our family? Where is he abundant? If he's not financially a huge provider, where is that abundance and providing present within your life? Yeah. I'm not sure what else. What else could we do as a...
I don't know, I was so caught up in all those things. I'm just sitting here in just such gratitude because I'm realising how much this work has allowed me to... Because we often put up walls to protect ourselves, right? So we'll put up a wall to not be vulnerable.
Yes.
Or we'll put up a wall to... just make it easier.
Because it's easier to be disconnected or angry than it is to really be openly feminine and vulnerable and almost on the tears of loving the magnificence. It's a pretty vulnerable place to be.
Absolutely. And also I think as well to actually be, you know, vulnerable enough or kind of, you know, sheepish enough, I suppose, to own your shit as well, or to own what it is that they are presenting to you.
Yes.
Without kind of shutting down or gruffly responding or, you know, ending the communication.
Yes. So this is also the flip on it, right? Is once you've worked out where they are, the opposite of those things, where are you that thing?
Yes.
Because you're only hating on it because you haven't owned it.
Yeah.
So if we look back on last week's podcast, you've noticed it for a reason. You've become aware of it for a reason. Your soul, your subconscious, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has said to you, notice.
Yeah, wake up.
What's here?
And it'll be interesting to see, you know, whether that comes, whether you're aware of it, whether somebody says it to you. You know, for me, it was probably about a year ago now, and I was, you know, cracking it about something to a coach that I was working with, and he said to me, yeah, well, he's you, so where are you not being vulnerable with him? Where are you not opening up to him? I'm like, oh, ouch. Good point. Because they're only reflecting you back to you, and they're you know, perhaps shutting down or their inability to communicate. It's in response to parts of yourself that you're not able to open up to them yet. You know?
And this is that perfect soul alignment, right? So you've called this person into your life to share the most intimate relationship we can possibly have within this lifetime, to most intimately show you, reflect you, and get you to love all of the parts of yourself that they are your counterpart to. Now, that doesn't mean counterpart in, you know, joy and rapture and perfect alignment. This is perfect counterpart in all of the voids and the areas you don't want to look at. And the more you start to look at them within yourself, the less you start to notice them and the person around you, because there's no longer a soulful reason for you to be aware of them. And you come into an emotional equilibrium, like we talked about in last week's podcast, around there is no right or wrong, because there's actually right and wrong both ways. Doesn't matter what you choose, it's perfect, because there's challenge and support either way, right?
Yep. They're two sides of a whole.
Yeah, they really are. That creates intimacy and connection and gratitude. And gratitude is a profound platform for a relationship.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, what a gift to give your children as well, to be able to see how to find that within a close partner, how to communicate effectively.
And how to own it in yourself. So rather than disowning a pattern, a, you know, go-to, whatever, and make it blame, shame, someone else's problem and they're doing this, to be able to flip it and go, wow, okay, I'm noticing that because where am I judging and blaming? Where am I disconnected to my own soulful path?
Yeah.
Where am I out of alignment? Where am I lazy?
Yes.
Where am I not inspired? All of these things that we say, you know, our husband's not inspired and they're not on our path and they're not in alignment and they're not. You are talking to you.
Yes.
This is you. This is
your
your universe.
Talking. Yeah.
Yes. So take that ownership with the profoundness that the universe offers you in your intimate relationships are an intimate guidepost for yourself.
And these relationships are where we grow, have the capacity to grow the most, because they typically push our
And
buttons
the
the
fastest.
most.
Yes.
You know, and so these are enormous opportunities. You know, often we feel like we should seek some kind of outside kind of path for growth, or some kind of outside answer for our next awakening. Actually, it's right where you are.
So true, Bridgie.
It's right where you are. And it's looking at the relationships around you. It's looking at how you feel about those relationships.
You don't need a guru outside of you.
You really don't.
Your guru's right there.
Yeah. And you are your own God, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, your higher mind is guiding you all the time, even if you don't feel that it is.
Yes.
But, you know, the shift that's possible when you change your perspective is profound. Is absolutely profound. And I mean, imagine turning a relationship around to be one of, you know, rapture and one of enormous gratitude, where you can't wait to get home and see each other. You know, where you can get back to that place of reverence for that person in your life, as opposed to it simply being routine.
And then I want to make the distinction here, actually, Bridget, between that feeling of love and connection and wanting to be with that person versus infatuation.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's just break that apart a little, because I think there's also, I see this concept of, you know, 10, 15, 20 years down the track in our relationship, we've lost our jazz, we've lost our vibe, I'm not attracted to him anymore, we don't have sex anymore,
Yeah.
I don't even get butterflies anymore when I see him. You know, these things that then the grass is greener on the other side, and when we start to receive compliments or attraction from people around us, it fuels us, we feel good, and we think that's what we should be looking for.
Yeah, and it gives us the dopamine hit. It gives us all those brain chemicals that we love, right?
That we're addicted to.
We're addicted to.
So let's just talk about that, Bridget, because I love your body of wisdom on infatuation. So can you break that apart for us?
Infatuation, so we talk a lot about, like, you know, the two poles of something. So we talk about right and wrong and, you know, good and bad, and those things being two parts of a whole. Infatuation and resentment are two parts of a whole. So when you're infatuated with somebody, you are polarized. You are in that honeymoon phase. You are choosing to see only the things that satisfy your values and kind of what gives you a kick, you know, and you're not seeing the other side of that person, which if you were to see, well, you would build up a resentment too. And you actually are, but you're just not aware of the resentment. So infatuation is that ideal of the honeymoon phase, that kind of initial thrill in a relationship that every relationship largely starts with, because we kind of need that to get us into it. But it's
almost a biological programming.
So yeah, it is, because that's how you create that sexual chemistry with someone initially. It's how you create those butterflies in your body.
That's how our species evolves.
Yeah.
If we don't have that initial sexual attraction or body drive to go deeper with that person, we would probably never procreate.
That's right. So it's absolutely necessary, but it's when you're addicted to infatuations. And it won't necessarily be with prospective partners. It'll be with ideas or people that you think serve your highest values. Like, so if you see your husband as not interested in this path you're taking, and you find somebody else in your awareness, whether it's a close friend or whether it's some guru or whoever who does value all those things, then you'll naturally find yourself building up an infatuation towards that person. And it'll be that, you know, they're in your mind all the time, that you subordinate to their way of thinking, all those kinds of things. Those are sort of telltale signs that, oh, hang on, what's going on here? You know, what am I not seeing? So that you can self-govern yourself. But this is the classic case or pattern in relationship breakdown, isn't it? Where, you know, your relationship becomes stale, it's not dynamic anymore, and you, as you say, you know, you see that kind of thing on the side there and it looks really attractive and they give you compliments. You know, it's just being aware of that, because this is, again, comes back to that sense of self-governance and what's going on here, because it's a form of escapism. It's a form of not wanting to see the magnificence of what you have right now and not being in gratitude for where you are and who is in your life.
And also, you've unconsciously come on the other side of infatuation. So you've moved from infatuation, you haven't tried to polarize that or ask quality questions or see the other side. So the universe has gone, bringing you back to resentment.
Yes.
And that's where you're at. But resentment is just as powerful as infatuation when we're bringing awareness to it, because those feelings are there. Why are we noticing them?
Yeah.
Because we need to. Because there's growth and there's lessons there. And if we choose to avoid them, we'll seek out another infatuation and we're up on that high again.
Yeah.
If we choose to not bring awareness, we will come crashing down on that exact same thing, back into resentment.
Yeah.
Have we noticed it yet? No? Okay, next infatuation high, universe is going to bring us crashing even bigger, down in a really big resentment.
Yeah.
Can you see how this happens?
And this happens biologically too. I mean, it even happens in relationships with our children. So we often build up an infatuation with newborn babies, you know, because they're so beautiful and they smell so gorgeous and they're so sweet and they just lay there and, yeah, okay, they cry a bit, but, you know, they're still so cute, right? Biologically, toddlers are designed to break the infatuation.
Don't they do it well?
Yeah. So it isn't something that's needed, but the more we become aware of these patterns within ourselves, the more we become aware of these sensations we might feel within our body, you know, all those kinds of things, the more we can govern ourselves and not need a big event to do that for us. Because this comes back to that sense that we're creating it. So is it what you want to create? It's getting present with yourself and getting honest with yourself about what's actually going on here. And getting back into gratitude with who you're with. You know, if it is the case of, you know, having an outside attraction, it's getting back into gratitude with who you're with. Where are they also attractive or really wise or really grounded? All those things that you might see in somebody else. Which is really often you're infatuated with a person who's reflecting to you parts of yourself you haven't owned yet, which is another flip on it. Because if everybody's a reflection
of you,
And the infatuation is with parts of yourself in that person that you see that you haven't yet owned within you.
This is part of like owning your magnificence.
It
isn't
is. It really is. So you can do it a number of ways. You can see where what you see in that person is in the partner you have now, but in a different form, because it will be in a different form. It won't be...
It's never missing.
No, because it'll be in your partner's highest values. So what do they spend their time doing all the time? What do they think about? What does their life demonstrate? Where are they? All those things that you see in the other person. Because they're no better or worse. They're just different according to that person. And the more that you can love that person for who they are, the more they become the person that you love.
Want them to be, yeah. Or that totally, not that they become who you want them to be, but yeah, totally. They become who you love because you're loving it more.
Yeah, you're loving them for who they are as opposed to trying to change them. And that's all anybody ever deserves to be, is to be loved for who they are. And it's all we yearn for from the moment we're born. All we ever yearn for is to be loved and appreciated for who we are. And isn't that the greatest gift to give your partner, your children, the people around you?
And in fact, loving those bits in our partner are loving them within ourselves too.
And you can only love the people around you to the degree in which you love yourself.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And you're going to be triggered by those around you to the degree of which you're disowning those traits within yourself.
And that's why every single person around you is teaching you more about yourself. And that is why those relationships that are closest to you are the ones that teach you the most. And you don't need to go anywhere or do anything. You don't need to go to you don't need to go to some, tropical location to go find yourself. You don't need to go on a plane around the world to go find yourself. You just need to be with yourself and ask yourself what the world around you is trying to teach you about yourself.
That's so profound, Bridgie. I 100% agree with it and totally see it, but it's pretty profound. And if you're only just starting this journey, that can almost feel too daunting.
It can.
To know where to even start with that.
Yeah, because escapism is easier, isn't it? To go and find outward things to
fill those voids
is,
rather than needing to go deep within.
Yeah,
because it's pretty painful. I mean, what we're talking about is that if you're running a story, that means you're not looking at where you are those things. If you're listening to this and feeling affronted by, well, he is that, I'm not. Those sorts of things, because that pain is actually really big and we don't want to go there. We are subconsciously, in a way, wired to avoid pain.
We are. We're pleasure-seeking creatures. That's why. Look at our material world we have around us. Look at all the lovely things that distract us, because the pain is too great to bear often.
But when you bear that pain and you pull it apart, the joy is almost too big to bear. And that's
the flip side, right?
Yeah. The pleasure is in the pain.
Yeah.
But you don't get to the real pleasure or the root of what's really going on until you've entered into what that is, which is really hard, particularly if you really have built a whole life around the story that you are this and they are that. It's really hard to start to take ownership of what you are creating or seeing or perceiving or aware of within your reality.
And that's where I'd say go gently as well, because it can be really triggering, can't it? But I would probably choose the biggest charge that you have on that person and start to unpack that.
So the one thing.
Choose the one thing and start from there. Don't try and overwhelm yourself. Figure out the thing that gets you most riled up.
And go as fast as the slowest part of yourself.
Yeah. So
that you're always moving forwards rather than shocking your system and retracting all the way back further than where you were.
Yeah.
And saying it didn't work.
Yeah. Because there'll be parts of you that really won't want to do it.
So go slowly. Yeah. So let's go back to that, Bridget. So you're saying pick the one thing that you think provides the most disconnection or anger or resentment within your intimate relationship and do what with it?
I would ask yourself why you display the same thing. So if they won't...
Can you pick one? Have you got a story? Have you got something that you can think of with that?
I think probably mine is around not opening up, or not kind of talking, not being deep,
vulnerable, or something.
Not being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think it's sometimes too, it can be simply just when you're aware of it, choosing a different way to be. So not always that it has to be. I mean, I don't have anything. I'm really grateful for the relationship that I've built. That there's nothing that's like a massive, you know. But like any relationship, there's little niggles, right? Little things that, you know, okay, that could have gone better, you know. So how could I have done that? How could I have approached that differently? You know, it's about the language that you use. It's just about bringing presence. But if it's a really big thing, and sometimes it might be, like in the Queen's Code, she talks about this. The catalyst might be something as silly and simple as them not taking out the rubbish. But what that act represents is this whole lot of underlying beliefs
And story.
Yeah, around them not listening to you,
Not
them
caring.
not caring.
Yeah.
And so it's really, okay, the first thing I would say is if you think that your husband doesn't do anything for you, or that you think that he's lazy, or you think that he's not a very good provider, then that's a bit of an indication that you're running a label. So you're saying that he's only one thing. And we talked about this. Everything has two sides. So you need to break that label that you have on that person to see where they do the opposite. And you only have to do this a little bit to start to open up your awareness. And this is powerful.
As soon as you get that, I even think as soon as you get that first inkling of going, it's like all of a sudden you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. And I do it often. Like if I find myself like judging my husband for like falling asleep on the couch or laying on the couch watching footy or whatever, and
This is a daily practice. This is all.
Oh, totally.
This is not also a concept of you do it once and bang, you're done and that door's closed.
No way.
It is a practice.
Yeah. And but so you know, you do that. So you go, okay, well, all right, I can feel myself going into judginess here. So where is he the opposite? Where is he not lazy? Where is he really inspired? Where is he really giving? Where is he a provider? And then you go, oh, okay, yep, there is more to him than I'm labelling right now.
And at the same time, self-ownership of where am I lazy or asleep?
Yeah.
And is my soul showing me that because I want to own more of it rather than trying to disconnect myself from it? Or because I want to change that or something within myself?
Yeah. And then in the moment when you can notice that they are going the extra mile for you, how can you show them real gratitude in that moment for that? How can you show them
Appreciation is a big key.
that I see you? Because they're only going to keep doing those things for you when they can see that it's what you want and that's what you're grateful for. If you,
It's like,
you know,
positive reinforcement, really.
yeah,
isn't
it is. And if, because like men often become quite hurt, and if they've got a hurt there, then they're going to be afraid to show those parts of themselves, to show those vulnerabilities, again, for fear of being hurt.
And the easier path is disconnection, shutdown, or anger.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing any of those traits, it's because there's a pain underneath that of vulnerability
Yeah.
that has been injured or hurt, and they're not willing to show it to you. It's like the underbelly of an animal or something, isn't
And
it?
it's just like you, because, you know, you'll be doing that to them in some other
Yes,
form.
exactly.
And they're doing it to you in this form.
Yes.
And it's a dance, right? Relationships are a dance. But there's just so much opportunity for learning and beauty and growth in them
Yes.
that I don't think that in our busy lives we give enough.
This is the downtime, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't give enough reverence to the potential for those relationships to be incredibly fulfilling and awakening, because
And in fact, soul purposeful.
yeah, you know, can it be that that's your you know, your mission is to awaken the relationships around you and have a rich connection with those people that you love?
And what is a soulmate, right?
Yeah.
What is a soulmate when you look at a relationship in this way, that whatever your intimate relationship is to some extent your perfect soul mate?
Yes.
Because on a soul level, in the positive or in the negative, they're trying to get you to own more of your soul.
Which basically means that anyone who you have an attraction to, or you have you know, could be that person, because they are getting you, because you've brought them in for a reason, for you to awaken more parts of yourself. You know, it's not this idea that this person's not right for me.
And I was going to say, and this fanciful idea of the soulmate,
Yeah.
that it's like
I think it's a load of
angels
crap.
singing infatuation, they're
Yeah.
just perfect.
Yeah.
It never is.
No.
It never is that. If you are living that, that's not your soulmate, mate.
No, because you're not seeing the whole picture yet.
And you're running a polarization if that's all you're seeing, because we are never one way. We never grow through just peace, love and harmony.
No.
So
as much as we know,
as much as we crave for it, but our
Yeah.
striving for it, of course, serves too, because even the challenge creates more of a driver to get there, or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah,
But a soulmate offers you as much challenge as support and joy.
yes.
So
And-
don't get confused on that.
Yeah, and we grow, like, as humans, we grow most at that border of support and challenge, you know, so you need both. And, like, I think it's also about how you can be grateful for the challenge your partner offers you as well as the support, rather than simply thinking that love should always be support, because this is a whole lot of stuff we've got wrong about what we see love as. Like, love is that, you know, the complementary opposites, you know, the synchronicity and the synthesis of
The wholeness.
complementary opposites.
Yeah.
So sometimes love is challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it's them saying to you, that was really not okay what you did before, or oh, I really did not comfortable with you doing that, or then maybe in their anger slamming the door on you, you know, because that can serve too. Sometimes the expression of anger is what's needed to get back into connection in a relationship, instead of labeling that person as, you know, whatever you want to label them as, to disown your responsibility in that interaction.
It's pretty profound
Yeah,
stuff, isn't it?
it is. And I think it's, again, smashing the illusion of, you know, soulmate being singing angels
Yes.
and butterflies, and love being simply, if they loved me, they would do this.
Yes.
If they loved me, they would say that.
Yes.
That all that does is breed, you know, like
Yeah.
massive reliance on a person,
Yes.
and keeps you small.
Yeah. It produces no self-awareness or journey
Yeah,
on that, does it?
yeah.
So it is all of those questions. I really hope that you take the time to unravel some of those. If you need a little bit of help or guidance, or you've had a really strong feeling about something, please private message us, or Facebook or email or anything, because we, you know, are really here to help you facilitate the change in your life that
Yeah.
you're wanting to create, because that's been our journey too, right?
Absolutely. And I think too, you know, in relationships, in last week's podcast, we talked about this idea of every kind of experience now is a patterning of old experiences. So quite often the dynamic that you have in a relationship will be as a result of some kind of dynamic or some kind of wound that you have in your childhood. So it's also wise to go back and see where the form was there, so that you can start to
Heal it.
heal it, and kind of break the hold that has on you now, because you can do it in your relationship, and that will profoundly shift your relationship. But sometimes if you don't do the work on the original, you know, catalyst for it, it's still not equilibrated. It's still there.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, the first place to start is finding gratitude for who your partner is and what they bring to your life.
Which you only get to by the pausing moment of awareness.
Yes.
And the quality questions.
And avoiding the tendency to distract or to seek
Yes.
pleasure.
Yes, the downtime to be with self.
Yes.
So if you are really feeling called to any of our podcasts, please rate them on iTunes. Please share them with your friends. Please Facebook us your profound life changes. We love hearing
Yes.
them. Your challenges as much as your support, to be honest. Because we love tears and challenge as much as we love joy and happiness.
That's it.
And we are on Facebook, Nourishing the Mother, and nourishingthemother.com.au, which at the
Yes.
moment is a landing page, but the website is coming. And to connect with you, Bridget.
SuburbanSandcastles.com, and our film coming up in May is Polyfaces, A World of Many Choices, and it looks at different ways for farming methods, and a really beautiful family doing some pretty amazing stuff in connection with the environment, which is lovely. And you, Julie?
It's thepleasurenutritionist.com. And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.